Welcome to CoinHunterUSA. Make sure to smash that subscribe button and follow us right now so you never miss a rare find. Today, it's a state quarter battle. We have the 2001 North Carolina first flight versus the 2002 Louisiana purchase. Which one is the ultimate winner? Let's dive into the details. Which one do you prefer? Comment below. Have you ever looked closely at the loose change in your pocket and realized you might be holding a revolution? Look at this tiny machine engraved on the back of this 2001 North Carolina quarter. At first glance, it looks like a simple frame of wood and cloth, but this is the flyer, the very machine that conquered the skies and shrank our world forever. Before this moment in 1903, crossing continents took months. Today, it takes hours. But the journey of this coin, from the minds of two bicycle mechanics to the pockets of millions of Americans, is filled with hidden connections and historical drama. What was happening in the heart of America when this coin was minted, and why does it still hold a secret that most collectors overlook? Let's unlock the mystery of the first flight. The words, "first flight," inscribed on this coin are not just a simple caption. They represent a death-defying saga that rewrote the laws of physics. Imagine two brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, standing on the desolate sand dunes of Kitty Hawk, facing fierce winds and the very real possibility of a fatal crash. They weren't scientists or engineers from elite universities. They were self-taught bicycle mechanics who dared to dream of the impossible. Every time they took to the air, they were gambling with their lives against gravity itself. When they finally succeeded, they didn't just fly. They shattered the boundaries of the human experience, turning a world of separated continents into a global village. This coin is a tribute to that moment of pure courage where mortality was challenged, and the map of the entire universe was changed forever. The face of this coin carries a legacy that dates back nearly a century, featuring the iconic profile of George Washington. While the original 1932 design was the masterpiece of sculptor John Flanagan, the version you see on this 2001 quarter was meticulously adapted by William Cousins. This wasn't just a simple copy, it was a strategic redesign to make room for the statehood program's information on the back. Every single detail was calculated, from the subtle texture of Washington's hair tied in a queue to the precise placement of the mint mark, in this case, the P for Philadelphia. Look closely at the base of Washington's neck, you will find the tiny initials, JF, as a tribute to Flanagan's original vision. Even the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust were repositioned and sharpened, ensuring that while the back tells a new story, the front remains a timeless symbol of American authority and resilience. The reverse of this quarter is a sculptural masterpiece brought to life by John Mercanti, the 12th chief engraver of the United States Mint and one of the most prolific coin designers in history. Mercanti's task was to translate the 1903 Wright flyer into a circular metal canvas with absolute precision. Every line on this coin serves a purpose, from the intricate texture of the canvas-covered wings to the delicate struts and wires that held the fragile machine together. He didn't just engrave a plane, he captured a moment of motion, positioning the flyer just above the dunes with a human figure, Orville Wright, running alongside it to stabilize the wing. If you look with a magnifying glass, you can see the grain of the sand and the sharp, crisp lettering of First Flight and North Carolina 1789. Even the year of issue, 2001, and the national motto, E Pluribus Unum, are balanced perfectly within the composition. Mercanti's work ensures that even after millions of strikes, the spirit of that windy morning at Kitty Hawk remains etched in cold, hard nickel and copper. The selection of this design was a massive democratic event that involved the entire state of North Carolina. It began when Governor Jim Hunt established the North Carolina Commemorative Coin Committee, inviting citizens to submit their own ideas for what should represent their home on a national stage. Over 1,500 suggestions poured in from students, historians, and artists across the state. After months of debate, the committee narrowed the field down to 5 final concepts, including the state capital and the state's silhouette. However, the first flight theme was the overwhelming favorite. Governor Hunt ultimately selected the image of the Wright flyer because it isn't just a local landmark, It is North Carolina's greatest gift to the world. The design had to be approved not only by the governor but also by the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury and the Commission of Fine Arts to ensure it met the highest standards of national coinage. This final choice solidified North Carolina's identity as the birthplace of aviation, immortalizing that legendary 1903 moment in the pockets of every American. Now, let's leave the cold metal of the coin behind and travel back in time to the desolate, windswept dunes of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Imagine the scene on the morning of December 17, 1903. The air is freezing, the wind is howling at 27 miles per hour, and the only sound is the rhythmic crashing of the Atlantic waves against the shore. This remote strip of sand, known as the Outer Banks, was chosen by the Wright brothers for its consistent winds and soft landing surfaces. There is no runway, no crowd, and no fanfare, just two determined brothers and a fragile contraption made of spruce wood and muslin cloth. As Orville climbs into the pilot's position, lying flat on the lower wing, the world has no idea that this lonely, sandy beach is about to become the most important patch of ground on Earth. This was the moment where the impossible became reality, and the era of global travel was born right here, amidst the shifting sands and salty spray of the Carolina coast. The most shocking part of this story is that the men who conquered the sky were not aeronautical engineers or wealthy scientists. They were humble bicycle mechanics from Dayton, Ohio. Orville and Wilbur Wright owned a small shop called the Wright Cycle Company, where they spent their days repairing and building bicycles. It was this hands-on experience with chains, sprockets, and balance that gave them the unique insight to solve the problem of flight. While the great scientists of the time were focusing on powerful engines, the Wright brothers realized that a plane, like a bicycle, needed to be balanced and controlled by the pilot. They used their modest profits from selling bikes to fund their experiments, even building their own wind tunnel out of a wooden starch box to test wing shapes. They were self-taught geniuses who mastered complex mathematics and physics through sheer trial and error. This coin celebrates the ultimate underdog story, two brothers who used the mechanical skills from a small-town bike shop to build a machine that would eventually reach the stars. At first glance, the two dates on this coin might seem confusing, but they represent a powerful connection between the birth of a state and the birth of a new era. The date, 1789, at the top marks the year North Carolina was admitted to the Union as the 12th state, a time of horse-drawn carriages and wooden ships. However, the central image captures a moment from 1903, more than a century later, when the world changed forever. This creates a brilliant historical bridge. While 1789 represents the political foundation of the state, 1903 represents its greatest contribution to human progress. It tells a story of evolution, showing how a state that began in the age of the pioneers eventually provided the very soil where mankind finally broke its earthly chains. By placing the 1903 Wright Flyer beneath the 1789 admission date, the coin honors not just where North Carolina started, but how far it helped the entire human race to go. The most mind-blowing fact about the scene depicted on this coin is that the first successful flight lasted for a mere 12 seconds. Imagine the tension. After years of calculations, failures, and mockery, Orville Wright lay flat on the wing, engaged the engine, and for exactly 12 seconds, the wooden craft defied gravity, covering just 120 feet, a distance shorter than the wingspan of a modern Boeing 747. Those 12 seconds were the most fragile moments in history. If the wind had shifted or a wire had snapped, the dream of aviation might have died right there in the sand. But in that tiny sliver of time, the impossible barrier was broken. Those few seconds proved that man was no longer bound to the Earth, setting off a chain reaction that would lead us to supersonic jets and moon landings within a single lifetime. How did such a short, shaky flight turn into a trillion-dollar industry and a global necessity? The answer lies in the courage of those 12 seconds that shook the world. When this coin entered circulation in early 2001, the United States was riding a wave of unprecedented technological optimism. The internet was rapidly evolving from a novelty into a household necessity, and the nation felt invincible at the dawn of a new millennium. However, just months after these quarters began filling cash registers, the world was shattered by the tragic events of September 11, 2001. Suddenly, the image of the first flight on the back of this coin took on a hauntingly significant meaning. While the country mourned the misuse of aviation in the attacks, this quarter stood as a silent, metallic reminder of the true purpose of flight: discovery, progress, and the triumph of the human spirit. In a year defined by fear and uncertainty, the North Carolina quarter became a symbol of American resilience, reminding a grieving nation that they were the same people who once conquered the impossible skies at Kitty Hawk. The timing of this coin's release was profoundly symbolic. Issued months before the landscape of the world changed forever, the North Carolina quarter became an unintended beacon of hope and progress for the American people. While the tragic events of 2001 cast a shadow over the skies, this coin served as a constant, palm-sized reminder that America was the birthplace of aviation, the nation that gave wings to humanity. It shifted the narrative from the tragedy of the moment back to the triumph of the spirit, showing that the same American ingenuity which built the first fragile flyer had grown into a force that made the nation a global superpower. Holding this coin meant holding a piece of history that proved resilience was in the country's DNA. It wasn't just currency anymore. It was a testament to the fact that even in the face of immense challenges, the legacy of innovation and the power to soar above adversity remained unbroken. For the numismatists and treasure hunters watching, the real excitement lies in the small details that most people overlook. If you look at the right side of Washington's portrait, you will see a tiny letter, the Mint mark. The P on this specific coin stands for the Philadelphia Mint, while the E would signify Denver. While millions of these were struck, collectors are always on the hunt for mint errors that can turn a common 25-cent piece into a high-value rarity. On the North Carolina quarter, look closely for die cracks or double die errors, where the design appears slightly doubled, especially on the struts of the right flyer or the lettering. There have even been reports of spitting eagle errors on other quarters of this era, or coins struck on the wrong metal planchets. Even a small imperfection from the minting process can skyrocket the value of a P-mint quarter from face value to hundreds or even thousands of dollars in the eyes of a serious collector. So, before you spend it, check every line. Your pocket might be hiding a small fortune. The real gold mine for collectors lies in the mistakes the mint made while producing these coins. While most North Carolina quarters are worth exactly 25 cents, certain mint errors have turned them into high-stakes treasures. One of the most sought-after defects is the die crack error, specifically the one known as the spitting flyer. This is a small, raised line of metal that appears to come out of the front of the right flyer, making it look like the plane is spitting. Beyond that, look for double die obverse, DDO, or double die reverse, DDR, where the letters or the lines of the aircraft appear doubled or thickened due to a misalignment during the hubbing process. Some of the most valuable versions are those struck on off-center planchets or even those accidentally struck on the wrong metal, like a dime or a nickel planchet. A high-grade 2001 P North Carolina quarter with a significant error and a high MS, mint state, grade from professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can sell for hundreds, and in some rare cases, thousands of dollars at auction. So, grab a magnifying glass and look for those tiny imperfections. The difference between a common coin and a legendary find could be a single, microscopic line. Now, let's talk about the numbers that keep collectors awake at night. While a regular 2001 North Carolina quarter is worth its face value, high-grade specimens and rare error versions have seen incredible prices at auction. A pristine, high-grade 2001 P North Carolina State Quarter has been known to sell for over $1,500 to $3,500 depending on its condition and mint state certification. But wait, if you happen to find an off-center strike or a rare transitional error, the price can skyrocket even further. Some unique error coins from the Statehood series have fetched upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 in professional auctions. Imagine that a small piece of copper and nickel that most people use to buy a soda could actually pay for a luxury vacation or a down payment on a car. The value isn't just in the metal, it's in the rarity of the moment caught in time. In the end, this coin is far more than just 25 cents. It is a masterpiece of human courage and a metallic chronicle of our greatest achievement. It serves as a reminder that with enough determination, even bicycle mechanics can touch the stars. So, before you toss your loose change into a jar or spend it at a vending machine, take a second look. Examine the wings of the flyer, check the mint mark, and feel the history in your palm. You might just be holding a common coin, or you could be holding a rare, $1,000 treasure that escaped the eyes of millions. The next time you look at your pocket change, remember, history isn't just in books, it's right there in your hands. Do you have a rarity waiting to be discovered? Check your pockets now. The image on this coin commemorates the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, arguably the most significant real estate transaction in human history. At the time, President Thomas Jefferson struck a deal with Napoleon Bonaparte of France to acquire a staggering 828,000 square miles of land for just $15 million, roughly 4 cents an acre. This single deal did more than just expand borders. It effectively doubled the size of the United States overnight, stretching the nation from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains. Without this pivotal moment, the United States would never have become a transcontinental power, and the global geopolitical map would look entirely different today. This coin serves as a pocket-sized monument to that daring ambition and the birth of a superpower. The imagery on the 2002 Louisiana quarter isn't just decorative, it's a deliberate fusion of cultural soul and ancient symbolism. The trumpet prominently featured represents the birth of jazz in New Orleans, a musical revolution that changed the sound of the world forever. It symbolizes a legacy of creativity and the vibrant, rhythmic spirit of the people. But the mystery deepens with the pelican, an ancient symbol often associated with self-sacrifice and protection. In Louisiana's folklore, the pelican in her piety is a powerful emblem of a mother bird feeding her young from her own lifeblood, representing the state's resilience and its nurturing role in the American Union. Together, these symbols bridge the gap between the artistic freedom of the streets and a deep-rooted historical survival, making this coin a cryptic map of Louisiana's unique identity. The release of the Louisiana Quarter in 2002 coincided with one of the most somber yet resilient periods in American history. The nation was still reeling from the devastating attacks of September 11, 2001, and a profound sense of mourning had transformed into a wave of intense patriotism. During this era, the 50 State Quarters program became much more than a hobby for collectors. It served as a unifying symbol of national pride. As people searched their change for the next state in the series, it provided a much-needed connection to the country's diverse heritage and shared values. For many, holding this coin in 2002 was a small but powerful reminder of American endurance, honoring the past while the country stood united against the uncertainties of a new millennium. The year 1812 inscribed on this coin marks a definitive turning point in the American story, the official birth of Louisiana as the 18th state of the Union. While the land was purchased years earlier in 1803, it wasn't until April 30, 1812, that it achieved full statehood, forever cementing its place in the United States. This date is deeply significant because it represents the transition from a French-influenced territory to a core pillar of the American democracy. Interestingly, 1812 was also the year the United States entered a major war to defend its sovereignty, making Louisiana's entry into the Union a symbol of growth and resilience during a time of national trial. When you look at this date on the quarter, you are looking at the moment a vast wilderness officially became a part of the American dream. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 stands as the most staggering real estate deal in human history. Driven by the vision of President Thomas Jefferson and the urgent financial needs of Napoleon Bonaparte's France, the United States acquired a colossal 828,000 square miles of territory. For a mere $15 million, Jefferson effectively doubled the size of the young nation overnight, gaining control of the vital Mississippi River and the strategic port of New Orleans. This was more than just a land grab. It was a geopolitical masterstroke that shifted the balance of power in North America forever. It turned a collection of coastal states into a continental giant, providing the vast resources and space that would eventually fuel America's rise as a global superpower. To truly grasp the magnitude of the Louisiana Purchase, you have to look at the numbers, and they are absolutely mind-blowing. The United States paid $15 million for over 500 million acres of land, which breaks down to approximately 3 to 4 cents per acre. In today's world, where real estate prices are skyrocketing, the idea of buying an entire acre of resource-rich land for the price of a few copper pennies is almost inconceivable. If we adjusted that price for inflation today, it would still be one of the greatest bargains ever struck. This wasn't just a purchase, it was the ultimate steal that provided the United States with millions of acres of fertile gold, vast forests, and massive mineral wealth, all for a price that wouldn't even buy you a piece of candy today. The reason behind this incredibly cheap sale lies in the desperate situation of Napoleon Bonaparte. By 1803, Napoleon was preparing for a massive renewed war against Great Britain, and his war chest was running dry. He realized that defending such a vast, distant territory in North America would be nearly impossible while fighting a superpower across the English Channel. Fearing that the British might simply seize the land by force, Napoleon decided to sell it quickly to the Americans to secure immediate cash for his military campaigns. He famously remarked that by strengthening the United States, he was creating a maritime rival for England that would sooner or later humble her pride. For Napoleon, it was a strategic sacrifice. For America, it was the opportunity of a millennium born out of a conqueror's urgent need for gold. The visual masterpiece on the reverse side of this coin was brought to life by John Mercanti, one of the most prolific engravers in the history of the United States Mint. Mercanti faced the immense challenge of distilling Louisiana's complex identity into a single circular frame. He achieved this by masterfully intertwining 3 distinct pillars: the trumpet, to honor the soulful legacy of jazz music; the pelican, to represent the state's natural beauty and resilience; and the map outline of the Louisiana Purchase to anchor the design in its world-altering history. This wasn't just an artistic choice, it was a symbolic bridge connecting the past, the present, and the spirit of the people. Mercanti's design ensures that every time someone holds this quarter, they are holding a carefully crafted summary of a culture that changed the face of America. If you look closely at your coin, right next to Washington's portrait, you will see a small letter P. This mark reveals that your coin was born at the Philadelphia Mint, the very first and most historic mint in the United States, established in 1792. Philadelphia isn't just any manufacturing facility, it is the cornerstone of American currency, where the nation's financial heart began to beat. Coins struck here carry a legacy of over 2 centuries of craftsmanship. Because Philadelphia is the primary mint, seeing that P connects your specific coin to the oldest traditions of American metalwork. It's a mark of authenticity that ties this piece of change directly to the city where the Declaration of Independence was signed, making it a true artifact of the American spirit. Now, I want you to take a close look at the coin in your hand. Right behind Washington's ponytail, you'll find a tiny, hidden letter P. This isn't just a random mark, it's the DNA of your coin. That P stands for the Philadelphia Mint, a place of immense historical power. Established in 1792, just a few years after the United States gained its independence, this mint is the oldest in the country. It was created at the request of the Founding Fathers to symbolize America's new financial freedom. By holding a coin with this mark, you are holding a piece of history from the very city where the Declaration of Independence was signed and the U.S. Constitution was born. It's a direct link to the birthplace of American liberty, making your quarter much more than just 25 cents. It's a relic from the heart of the American Revolution. Behind every great coin is a leader who makes the final call, and for this quarter, that person was Governor Mike Foster of Louisiana. In the year 2000, as the state prepared for this historic release, thousands of residents submitted their creative visions, which were eventually narrowed down to 5 powerful concepts. It was Governor Foster who had the ultimate responsibility of choosing the one design that would represent Louisiana's soul to the rest of the world. He bypassed more common ideas to select this specific composition because he believed it perfectly captured the triad of Louisiana's identity, its musical heartbeat, its natural wildlife, and its monumental role in American expansion. By making this choice, Governor Foster ensured that the coin wasn't just a piece of currency, but a permanent ambassador of Louisiana's rich and complex heritage. The inclusion of the trumpet on this coin is a soulful tribute to New Orleans, the undisputed birthplace of jazz music. This instrument isn't just a symbol of entertainment, it represents a cultural explosion that occurred in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, blending African and European musical traditions into a sound that would eventually conquer the world. By placing the trumpet at the heart of the design, the creators honored legendary icons like Louis Armstrong and the countless musicians who filled the streets of the French Quarter with rhythm and blues. It stands as a testament to the fact that Louisiana didn't just contribute land to the United States, it contributed the very heartbeat of American creativity, proving that music is a universal language that transcends borders and history. The pelican featured on this coin is far more than just a depiction of Louisiana's official state bird. It is an ancient and powerful symbol of self-sacrifice and devotion. Known as the pelican in her piety, this emblem dates back centuries to a legend where a mother pelican would wound her own breast to feed her young with her blood during times of famine. On this quarter, it serves as a moving metaphor for the state's resilience and its commitment to nurturing future generations. It reminds us that the strength of a nation often lies in the sacrifices made by those who came before. By including this bird, the designers transformed a simple piece of currency into a tribute to the enduring and selfless spirit that defines the people of Louisiana. The map outlined on this quarter is a visual representation of the most ambitious expansion in American history. It depicts the vast territory acquired during the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, a massive stretch of land that reached from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to the Canadian border. By including this map, the designers immortalized the moment the United States transformed from a coastal nation into a continental giant. This outline covers what would eventually become 15 different states, highlighting the sheer scale of the land France ceded to America. When you look at this map on the coin, you aren't just looking at geography, you are looking at the blueprint of a superpower and the opening of the American West, forever etched in silver-colored copper. If your coin looks absolutely perfect, with no scratches, a mirror-like shine, and every tiny detail of the pelican's feathers visible, you might be holding a mint state, masterpiece. Coins are graded on a scale of 1 to 70. While billions of these quarters were made, finding one in MS 68 or higher is incredibly rare because most were damaged in bags or pocket change. A standard 2002 Louisiana quarter in your pocket is worth exactly 25 cents, but a specimen professionally graded as MS 68 or MS 69 by PCGS or NGC can be a collector's dream. In fact, high-grade examples of this specific coin have been known to sell for as much as $500 to $1,200, and in some exceptional cases of perfect, deep cameo proofs, the price can climb even higher for those seeking the finest known survivors. The real treasure hunt begins when you look for mint errors, mistakes made during the manufacturing process that turn a common quarter into a high-value rarity. The most famous for this series is the double die error, where the coin is struck twice, causing the lettering or images to appear blurry or doubled. You should also look for an off-center strike, where the design is shifted to one side, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. Even more obscure is the die crack, or cud error, where a crack in the heavy metal stamp leaves a raised line of extra metal on the coin's surface. While a normal quarter is worth face value, a certified 2002 Louisiana ErrorCoin in top condition can fetch anywhere from $500 to over $3,000 at specialized numismatic auctions, depending on how dramatic and rare the mistake is. As we hold this 2002 Louisiana quarter, we have to ask ourselves, is this just 25 cents in your pocket? Or are you holding a literal fragment of history that reshaped the world? Every line on this coin, from the jazz trumpet to the majestic pelican, tells a story of ambition, sacrifice, and a deal that turned a young nation into a global giant. Now the hunt is on. Grab your magnifying glass and check your own collection. Do you see a double strike on the lettering? Is there a strange mark or a hidden error we discussed? Or perhaps you have a coin so flawless it looks like it just left the mint. Whatever you find, don't keep it a secret. Share your discoveries in the comments below. Tell us the mint mark you found and if your coin has that rare shimmer. Let's uncover the hidden treasures of history together.